Alrighty, class. So here on the left, I do have a application I'm actually currently working on for my engineering job, my engineering role as a full stack developer. So that means I do work on front end and back end, as we'll explore what back end means in the following slides. But yeah, front end is where I started. It is my primary area of expertise. Essentially, I get tasked right with having to present the data in a nice way for our users, right? While the backend, which is the data, which again we'll see in the next slides, is all the features, right? What really make the program work. If you don't provide a nice interface, right, for that data, then the software is pretty much not usable, right, for your average user. So of course, just as important as the backend, right? We got to make sure that there's an interface there, so that users can have that data manipulated, right, and solve those specific tasks. So here on the left, I would show you some of my other UI, but technically, it is intellectual property, right? So I can't be showing that in a recording. But what I can show you, right, is kind of the layout. You can see I have some themes, some colors here, right? Have a little bit of a clock, and then this is the name of the interface I'm working on. Of course, we're working with a blank page, but we're going to go ahead and code up some things. So on the right, I'm using React. It's a JavaScript library. As we saw, JavaScript typically used for front end. It was developed by Facebook, actually. So they were the first to create React, and it essentially it's an easier way of coding in JavaScript. So JavaScript already existed, high level language, and then Facebook came in and said, hey, how can we make this even easier? And so they came up with React. So yeah, for example, if I wanted to change the background, so I can use a keyword here like style. So I'm add a property to this container. So right now I have this container, which is the body of my page. So I have to get really specific with all the styles. So I have to tell it how wide I want it to be. Well, I want it to take 100% of the width. And then maybe the height. I want it to take 100% of the height. Um, and then of course, I could also change the color, right? So I can actually see what I'm working with. So background color. And I'm using Visual Studio Code. It's an IDE, integrated development environment. It essentially makes it even easier to code, right? Notice it's auto-suggesting properties for me, values, etc. So yeah, nowadays, because of the innovation, right, of many before us, it's easier and easier to be a programmer. Now, obviously, I still had to, spend quite a few years in school to get where I'm at. For any front end developer, the um, the expected amount of education, right, is at least a bachelor's. But who knows, right? In the future, um, maybe anyone, right, will be able to code really amazing websites. And in fact, for this week, this lab, right, you will be building a website with a no-code website editor. So now there's websites that help you build websites, and you don't need any technical expertise to do that. We'll spend a lot of time this week going over how to use that website editor, but it's pretty simple interface. There's definitely a lot of features. It can be a little bit intimidating at first, but we'll go through it together to make sure you have everything you need to make that to do your lab right for this week. All right, so for this color, let's make it green. And notice it's even suggesting like colors for me. So I'm gonna save it, and there you go. So my background color is green now. I could change it to orange, right? If I wanted to. Pretty much whatever I want, right? This is a programming language. So I'm giving the computer instructions. I'm following very specific set of rules, making sure that the computer is able to read the instructions. And as you can see with high level languages, I'm using plain English words, background color, height, width, style, the color orange, right? I'm not putting some secret language, right? Some of these are just plain English words. Let's make this more interesting. Let's add a button. And here I'm actually using a library from Google. Google is really good with user experience, user interface design. So they've actually open sourced components that you can use in React. So I don't have to start from zero. Just like when you're working with Canva, right? You worked with templates. I'm kind of doing the same thing here, but with coding. So I want my button to say click me. We're gonna hit, oops, not hitting the right parts of my keyboard. There we go. Now I can't really see the button, so I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. I'm also gonna style it. So we're gonna do some similar things, style, and we're gonna go with height. And instead of percentage, I'm gonna go with pixels. That's a commonly used unit when we're talking about screens. We're talking about pixels. The more pixels you got, the better your screen looks. And let's see if my button got bigger. Yep, definitely got bigger. Now it doesn't really have a background. Luckily, I know my Material UI. Again, this is the library of React components that Google developed. I'm gonna go with contain, and notice it's gonna auto suggest some values for me. There you go. Now it's a little bit too big. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it 100 by 100. That might be too small. Let's make it a little wider. Let's make it 300. There you go. So now I have this button, click me. Now it doesn't really do anything, right? And notice all the, like when I hover it, when I click on it, all those effects were pre-made. I didn't have to worry about that because I'm using Material UI. So Google's helping me out here with their open source component library. Yeah, very, very cool. Again, kind of analogous, right, with Canva. And you have this library of presets. Same with coding. So a lot of coding nowadays, right, you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to be like a super master of coding. You can lean on these libraries to kind of save you a lot of time. All right, let's see. I want this button to actually do something. So we're going to do on click. Again, some plain English there. Now, of course, there's some syntax that you might not recognize or that might not make sense to you, right? That's because I'm following the rules, and it is a very wide rule set, right? There's a lot of different things you need to know when coding in React. But yeah, for the most part, right, some of these properties just plain English. So I'm going to do a little trick here where I'm going to change the color of my screen. First, let me make this look nice. All right. So I'm going to do a variable here, you know, just like in math where variables hold values. Well, variables in coding, they also hold values. So I'm going to say background color, set background color. So I'm creating a variable so that I can change the color of the background using my button. And let's go with orange. So this is my starting color. So if I change this to background color, nothing's going to happen because it's just orange. Now here what I'm going to do is when you click it, it's going to say set background color. And it's going to be, let's go with red. Now again, nothing happens if I refresh my page because not until I click that button is it going to turn the background color red. And there you go. Click me. I could even have it, you know, print out my name or something by putting more variables. You take these very basic skill sets, you layer them on top of each other. You do a little practice, right? And you can create really amazing things. I had no coding background coming into college. The best I knew to do was, you know, how to install, you know, a new game on my computer. That's what I loved to do when I was young, play video games. But by no means did I have any understanding about web development, about coding, about computers, about hardware, software. I probably knew as much as y'all did when you first took this class. So the reason I share that is because if any of you are interested, right, in becoming professionals in any field, any career, right, just know it just takes practice, it takes time, it takes dedication. And yeah, it's for sure, right? When you're doing something that maybe no one else in your family has done, it can feel a little bit daunting, maybe even impossible, right? But I promise you, right, The only difference between you and that job you want, that career you want, that skill set you want to acquire, right, is just time, time and dedication, time and discipline, right? We have to make sure that we are dedicating our time to learning these new skills, just like you dedicate time, right, for this class. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. So I'm not going to be doing much more for this demo. That's it. But yeah, like I said, you put a lot of these things together and you can make really cool things. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue the class. And I'll see y'all in the next video.